Here we are again, and I've just completed this alteration for a client who bought a kilt and he wasn't in a position to go in for a final fitting before he accepted it. They mailed it and it simply didn't fit. It was too big by about 4 inches. And to their discredit, the makers just said, yeah, just use braces, suspenders. That's not a good solution because the kilt should hang on by itself. So they've brought it to me. And what I've done, because it was only 4 inches, what I've done is I decreased the width of both aprons. And I didn't remove any cloth. There's a little more cloth here. And the apron pleat, frankly, I've managed to make it quite a bit deeper. It's a little over a quarter of the total width. Almost a third of the total width. But that is to our advantage because, again, the extra cloth gives us a little more modesty in front because we have a few more layers of cloth, so it resists pushing in. Same on the outside. On the outside apron, I should say, I've also added another layer of fringe because as I was making the apron smaller, I had a bit of a surplus, so I ripped off an 1.5 inch strip and then sewed it in just to make that a bit richer. The question of the length, because this gentleman has a very important figure, and particularly that his waist measurement is larger than his seat measurement, which can be cause for a concern. I'm very lucky that this worked because it doesn't always work. And frankly, in future, I'm not going to accept alterations for someone who's got that inverse relationship if they're not capable of coming for at least a trial fitting. As it is, they came up here for a couple of days, so he came back for a fitting halfway through it. So when measuring a person of full habit, we can have a problem with the numbers because using my measuring system, remember where we go from the top of the knee to the natural waist, and then I go down usually 2.5 inches for an adult male to measure down, and it creates a kilt that fits better. That total length, the number can be right, but it can still wind up with a kilt that's too short because we have a different topography, if we say. To be at the risk of sounding cruel, the tape measure is taking a bit of a scenic route. So it's fatally easy to cut the kilt too short. So I'd measured it to be 22 inches, but I know from hard, bitter experience that could create something that from a distance resembled a miniskirt, and we simply don't want that. So what I did was I didn't shorten the top of the kilt. What I did do was I lowered the strap and the buckle relative to the top of the kilt, because again, by bringing the strap and buckle closer to the hem, we are in effect raising the kilt relative to the natural waist and relative to the top of the kneecap. We can do the opposite. We can raise the strap and buckle, which lowers. And again, I insisted on and they very kindly obliged by coming by for an interim fitting halfway through so I could double check. So I've relined it. I've put in my own canvassing system because frankly it's better. The inner apron may look still a little wide when you see how far back that I've attached this, but I prefer to do it this way now because by so doing, when the kilt cinches up tight, if it was too close to the edge, the strap can dig into the side, and in the worst case, it can actually pinch. So we don't want to do that. So by leaving that as a backing piece, as it were, it creates a bit more measure of comfort. And of course, because the kilt's going to stretch and shape itself to him as he wears it. But if we find, because right now we're at about the middle of the button of the holes, but if it gets to the point where it's bottoming out against the stitching, we need to move it over a little bit. And because again, I have lifetime warranty on my workmanship, should that occur, I'll invite them up and we'll alter it. So there we go. I wish the gentleman many happy years of wear and use of his effectively new kilt. Now again, I haven't put my label on because I'm not going to claim somebody else's work. Much of this, even though they did a kind of lousy customer service by sending him a kilt that was too big and then not addressing the issue, the stitching was beautifully done, and the layout was generally very, very good. They've done this fold back on the inner apron so that the inner apron doesn't hang below. I've never bothered doing that way because I just grab the top of the inner apron and give it a twitch up, but I elected to leave it that way. And maybe I'll learn from that. Maybe I'll do it that way in the future. But in any case, I have taken what label they had, which was just the 2 loops on the top of the kilt, and I trimmed one down and I sewed it where I put my label. So there we are. Good to go. And again, I hope and frankly expect that he's going to get far more enjoyment out of a kilt that'll actually stay on him. Thank you. And you can